All right, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Birds on the Farm. We've got a really exciting show today. I think this is the first time we're going live since the deadline. So, a new injection of talent into the system, some other interesting roster moves made by the Cardinals. So, plenty to break down here. As always, I'm Sandy. I'm joined by Kareem, and we're going to have a ton of fun here. So, let's just get right into it here. The Cardinals had a big trade deadline. You know, interest like initial responses from the fan base seems to be pretty polarized. So we're just going to break down all the moves they made, look at the new guys coming into the system, and then we're going to give you a grade on the deadline from each of us. So stay tuned for that. But the first move the Cardinals made was, or the biggest move they made this deadline was definitely moving Ryan Helsley. They traded him to the New York Mets. He's going to act as a seventh, eighth inning setup guy there to bridge to Diaz. I think it was a good move for both teams. The Cardinals brought in a significant amount of talent, and I know that it didn't necessarily match up to the infusion of talent we saw head to Minnesota or San Francisco. But for a rental reliever who's having the year Helsley's having, I think Kareem and I were both pretty impressed with what the Cardinals got back. So, Kareem, who are the guys coming back, and how do you feel about them? Let's start with Baez, I guess.
Before we get into the three names, I just want to talk about Ryan Helsley a little bit.
Yeah.
Man, one of the best closers of all time in the Cardinals organization. To have that guy come through the system, I believe he was drafted out of high school, or he was a later round pick, someone that, went through the system, was an under the radar prospect, and ended up becoming, one of the top relievers in the game. So, shout out to Ryan Helsley. He, during his time as a Cardinal, had a lot of fun memories here, breaking the save streak, fastball getting up to triple digits, really, really nasty slider. It's tough to see a guy like that go. But appreciate the time that we had with him, and maybe in the off season we can, re-sign him if, the cost isn't too much. Sandy, if you wanted to talk a little bit about Helsley before we get into the three names. Hello?
Wait, sorry, I'm having some Wi-Fi troubles.
Okay.
But I couldn't agree with you more about what it's going to be like to not have Ryan Helsley in St. Louis anymore. It's going to be strange. He's been the primary closer now for 4 seasons, which I believe is a longer run than Trevor Rosenthal had. You are right to call him one of the best closers in Cardinal history. And I mean, I think there's a good chance that at some point down the road, we're talking about Ryan Helsley as potentially a member of the Cardinals Hall of Fame, especially if he comes back and has more good years with the team. So, yeah, want to give him his flowers. Hell's Bells playing as he walks in. I mean, it was awesome. The stadium going red. It's going to be weird to not see that anymore at the back end. So, yeah, it's a real shame.
Well, what did you think of his introduction to the Mets? At Citi Field. Playing the song. Getting riled up with the fans. It felt similar to how the Cardinals do it here. In the 9th inning. But obviously, he's not going to be pitching the 9th inning over there with the Mets. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was cool that they televised it. Like, why couldn't the Cardinals why couldn't FanDuel Midwest ever figure that out? Come on. It was awesome to see that televised. I think it's a great way to make the broadcast a little bit more fun. I think it's an easy miss that FanDuel Midwest had. But also crazy that they do something like that for a guy not even coming in for the 9th inning. So I wonder how long that keeps up. But I wish him success, moving forward. The Cardinals are not going to be making the playoffs. If you're watching the games, you know that at this point. But at least you have somebody to root for individually. Whether you like the Mets or not, I don't care for the Mets. But I hope Ryan Helsley pitches well moving forward. And I think you're right. I think there's a good chance they explore. They might not sign a deal, but they're definitely going to explore one this offseason. And Ryan Helsley also now, good for him, cannot have a qualifying offer attached to him since he was traded as a rental. So that will enable him to make the most money this offseason. So good for him. Happy that he's not going to be held back by that as well.
It's going to be fun to watch him pitching in October again. Obviously, the last turnaround didn't go his way. Obviously, dealing with that injury. Hopefully, this time around he can, strike out a bunch of guys in October. And it's been a while since we've seen the Mets in the World Series. Maybe they can get there, and our guy can get his first World Series championship. Because, for a guy that came through the organization, one of the top closers in the game, you got to wish nothing but success for someone like that, even if it's in the Mets organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm trying to think, as Helsley pitched in the postseason, I want to say in 2019, maybe, but I'm not totally sure. I know that 2022 was disastrous, but
yeah, rough series
yeah.
against the Phillies. But let's get into the three prospects that are entering the system. I think the headliner is infielder Jesus Baez.
For sure.
Young infield prospect, just 20 years old. I think he's got an intriguing hit power combo. He's posted above average bat to ball skills throughout his career, and the EVs have been strong. Last year in the Florida State League, he posted a 119 WRC plus, and that was as a 19-year-old. And so far this year, he's posted a 120 WRC plus at the high A level. So when you have a guy that's posting that sort of offensive production, showing the power, showing the bat to ball skills at such an early age in his career, and he has the ability to stick up the middle. He's playing a lot of shortstop right now. I think he'll settle in as more of a second base type. And I could see him playing some third base as well. Obviously, love to see that kind of versatility as a guy that can play multiple positions on the diamond. And the bat has been very impressive so far. I thought he was the headlining piece in this trade. He slated in as my 10th ranked prospect on my updated Cardinals prospect list. The second piece, I would say, right-hand pitcher Nate Dohm. He was the Mets' third-round pick from last year, and this was actually someone that I wanted the Cardinals to pick last year. In the third round, they ended up opting for Brian Holiday. Dohm ended up being selected a little bit later, but will be joining the Cardinals organization. Is now on the Cardinals organization, and he recently made his first start. Fastball sits around 94 miles an hour, but can touch 97, and he gets above average induced vertical break, and it's from a 5.5 release height, plays well at the top of the zone. It's a pitch that has a whiff rate around 27% on the season. He'll also pair that with a gyro slider in the 83, 84 mile an hour range, which is his most used secondary. He's mostly a top two pitch guy at this point. Haven't seen the development in the changeup or curveball just yet, but those are a couple other pitches that he mixes in. So it'll be interesting to watch what the Cardinals player development group does in terms of the secondary arsenal. Is the changeup going to see more usage? Do they add a different kind of changeup like they did with Takora Roby? Could this be a guy that experiments with a kick change, a pitch that gets more downward vertical movement? As his changeup right now, it's got about 10 inches of induced vertical break. So would like to see that number down a bit. But yeah, fastball slider combo looks good. And there are some secondaries in there besides those two that have shown a little bit of promise, just haven't been used a whole lot. So it will be interesting to see what the Cardinals end up doing there. But at the very worst, we're looking at a guy that I think could profile in a bullpen with the fastball and slider combo, which is nice to see. But there is upside to dream on with the Nate Dohm. I think that if we can see some of those other secondaries start to tick up, there could be mid-rotation upside in here. And then lastly, Frank Elissalt. He was the Mets' 19th round pick last year out of Nova Southwestern, which is a D2 school. So to have a guy like that under the radar arm selected in the 19th round, and this isn't like your typical 19th round pick. This is a very exciting arm and someone that's going to slate into that is in my updated top 20 prospects already. Fastball is a metric darling at 95 miles an hour, can run it up to 98, really flat approach angle. A bunch of secondaries that he mixes that I think stand out. His best secondary, I would say, is an 83 mile an hour sweeper that gets 12.6 inches of glove side movement. He also has a mid 80s gyro slider and a changeup that has really quality depth. It gets 0.0 0.3 inches of induced vertical break and 12 inches of arm side run. So, I mean, the arsenal is there for him to start at the next level, but his workload so far this year just hasn't been fully to the point of him starting. He's been used as more so as a multi-inning reliever type. But I do think that this is someone that the Cardinals have a long-term plan of stretching out and getting to a full starter's workload. And with the pitch mix that he has, headlined by a plus, potentially plus fastball, it's really an exciting pitch in terms of the metrics. And, you know, if he can do a better job at just locating that in the top third, we're looking at a very intriguing offering. 16.7 inches of induced vertical break from a 5.2 release height. So really flat at the top of the zone, lower arm angle guy, but still gets the hop on the pitch. So I think all three of those names intriguing. Are they going to jump into, you know, the top 5 prospects in the organization? No. Are they going to take a little bit more time to develop? All three are at the high A level right now, but they're all high upside kind of players. And for a Cardinals player development group that is, you know, trying to modernize and, you know, added a lot of fresh voices in there, led by Rob Serfolio. I think getting 3 names in here that have some upside that I think are still have some growing to do, but thankfully, I mean, this player development is stepping in the right direction. So it'll be fun to keep tabs on all 3 of those names to see how they progress over the years. But I thought it was a good haul for Ryan Helsley.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying here. I think there was definitely some hype around Baez at some point in his development. I know he at one point was a top 100 prospect for Baseball America. So that's a guy with some pedigree. I really did like that ad. I think he's got a 120 WRC plus right now at his current level, which, I mean, when you're 19 years old, you're already playing full season ball and, you know, you're excelling to that point at high A. That's really good. That's a really good sign. And that's somebody who is going to move through the system. Love that he's playing shortstop right now. I saw people that initially complained about adding another shortstop to the Cardinals system. I think that's a good thing. We want to add shortstops. We want to add athletic players, and he's an athletic guy. You know, it seems like he's not going to stick at shortstop, and that's okay. Just means he's an athletic player that's getting a lot of opportunities right now to work on his glove work. For Dohm, I was immediately a big fan of him. Loved that that you said you were high on him before the draft last year, because I look at him and this is just the type of guy that I know I'm going to like watching at some point in potentially the near future. I think there's a chance he's the fastest moving out of these 3 prospects. Love that we've seen him in a relief role before in college, where he ended up touching 99, flirting with triple digits at one point. So this is a guy, like you said, that has potential to be used in the bullpen, potentially a high leverage arm at some point if starting doesn't work out. So that's the type of arm you want to see the Cardinals target, you know, because he's right now, he's not one of your most intriguing pitching prospects, but he's great depth for your system. And it's somebody that can work in a relief role if you need him to. And the 2 pitch mix that he's already got, very intriguing. And also, yeah, I mean, Elissalt felt like a throw-in piece initially when I was looking at it. You know, he unranked on the Mets top 30 on most stuff. And love to see what you're saying about him, because very excited about that. Like you said, 3 guys with upside, totally different way than the Cardinals have worked in the past. You want to go back to the last time they sold at the deadline. I mean, the most similar move to this feels a little bit like the Flaherty move, maybe, where they got back 3 players, but none of them had the upside that these guys have. You know, instead of targeting guys lower in the minors with more upside, they targeted guys that were nearer to MLB ready with less upside. So you look at like a Drew Rom, for example, completely different kind of target than a Nate Dohm, somebody who actually potentially has mid-rotation upside, but you're going to have to work for it and you're going to have to dream on it, versus Drew Rom, who MLB ready, but MLB ready for what? MLB ready to throw meatballs, you know? So it is very nice to see. I'm very excited to see this new approach. And I think this was the first of several solid moves the Cardinals made at this deadline.
Yeah, it continued the trend that we saw in the draft, and that was targeting guys with plus fastballs, not just in terms of velocity, but shape too. You talk about a Nate Dohm who has 18 inches of induced vertical break from a 5.5 release. And then you talk about a Frank Elissalt, really low arm slot, but it's a high spin pitch, high efficiency pitch at 95, can touch 98 with 17 inches of induced vertical break almost from a 5-2 release. So really flat approach angle at the top of the zone. So adding guys that have good fastballs is always a good idea. I think, it's a pitch that it's typically a pitcher's most used pitch. So having guys that have quality fastballs is always a plus. And it's good to see the Cardinals target that, in the draft and, with some of the guys that they traded for as well at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, you throw your fastball more than anything else. I would like to see the Cardinals bringing guys with good fastballs up and say, the last thing you want is to be relying on mainly junk pitchers who all profile as number 5s or fringe number 5s. The Cardinals pitching depth at one point, I believe, consisted of like Zach Thompson, Dakota Hudson, and Drew Rom. And so it's nice to see them moving into the realm of more interesting players. And I think you're right. It's something that we saw change in a significant way with the draft this year. And we've discussed how crazy it was to see them select a Liam Doyle instead of a Jamie Arnold. I mean, just like never would have believed it would happen a few years ago. And it was more of the same at this deadline. And, it's the type of thing where if it doesn't work out, A, these guys might turn into good relievers, or B, at least they shot, whereas if a Drew Rom or a Sem Reversa or an Adam Kloffenstein doesn't work out, it's like, well, I mean, did we think it was going to? So it's just really positive stuff. Is there anything you want to touch on with the Helsley deal here? Is there anything else you want to talk about here before we potentially move into the next trade the Cardinals made?
I just wanted to touch on a little bit that it's a lot easier to develop secondary offerings than fastballs.
Yes.
And especially a player development group that I think is going to be more innovative and, developing secondary pitches as we've seen so far this year. A guy like Bryson Mott's adding a cutter, reshaping his changeup into a more viable offering. Takara Roby is going to miss the rest of the year, but he reworked his changeup into a kick change, which got a lot more depth and played pretty well this year. So I think we're going to continue to see the Cardinals evolve these pitchers' secondary offerings and to see guys that at least have a fundamentally good fastball. I think that was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, because when you get to pro ball, like you can add velocity, you can change your fastball shape, but it's very difficult. And you never want to just be relying on a guy adding 5 miles an hour when he gets to St. Louis, right? Like if you're throwing 89 when you're drafted, sometimes you do a Quinn Matthews and you add a bunch of velocity when you get, time with a big league organization, you get on a strength program and whatnot. But a lot of times that doesn't happen. For all the success stories where the Cardinals have improved a player's fastball, there are probably 5 to 10 other stories where that didn't happen. And it doesn't matter what else you throw. Your fastball it sets everything up. It's the most thrown pitch. There's a reason it needs to be, fundamentally sound, as you said. So yeah, great to see the Cardinals changing up their strategy here. Well, the next move the Cardinals made was moving Stephen Matz. They traded him. I mean, it was like a midnight deal. I went to bed before it happened. So I woke up in the morning to the news that Stephen Matz was now a Red Sox, and they got Blaze Jordan back. And that's a guy with some serious pedigree. I know that when he was he's drafted straight out of high school a couple of years ago. And when he was in high school, there was talk of him being this big super prospect. He went to some big showcases, showed off some serious power at a really young age. So I think he was a 3rd round pick for the Red Sox. But he's a little different than that version of him, And so the name value, very intriguing. It's also nice that Heim has some familiarity with this profile. We've said it again and again. He was there. Heim drafted this kid. So clearly there's something he likes. But at the same time, the Red Sox are not giving up a 300 hitter with 30 home run power for 2 months of Stephen Matz. So Kareem, tell us a little bit more about Jordan's profile, what you see in him, why the Cardinals would make this move, and then maybe some realistic expectations.
First off, it's fun to add a guy that was known for hitting 500-foot home runs as a 13-year-old.
That's an insane thing.
So, yeah, he was a top prep prospect in the 2020 draft. which I believe included, that was the draft the Cardinals picked Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker and Alec
Big
Burleson.
draft. Yeah.
But the Cardinals apparently were high on him in the draft. He ended up sliding to the third round where the Red Sox selected him and signed him to an overslot bonus. This is a guy so far this year, I mean, strong bat to ball skills. I think that's the first thing that jumps off to me. Elite adjustability in 2 strike counts. This is someone that is going to put bat to ball and avoid strikeouts. He's running a strikeout rate of just 10.5% this year. So very impressive to see him put the bat on the ball and avoid strikeouts. He's got solid raw power, as always. He showed it when he was a 13-year-old, and I think that still remains to be the case. I think his batted ball profile right now isn't at the point where he's going to fully maximize that power in game. He's just not hitting the ball at the right angles all the time. More ground balls than you'd like to see. He's not lifting in the air to his pull side, and the line drives aren't, at a high enough level as you would like to see. But at the same time, we're talking about a guy that is fundamentally sound in terms of his ability to make contact. It's good to see that. And the raw juice is in there. We'll see if the Cardinals can unlock a little bit more game power, as he has shown some, over his minor league career. There are times where we see that power production come together a little bit more than it has been at the AAA level so far. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cardinals can do to unlock a little bit more game power in there. But this is someone who has always hit left-handed pitching throughout his career, and I think that'll carry over to the next level. And to add someone like that, at the very worst, is going to be someone on your bench that hits left-handed pitching. I'd say he's split time between first base and third base. Not sure if he's got the mobility to play third baseman at a long-term or in an everyday capacity. I think off the bench, if you want to pinch him in to third base every now and then, I don't have a problem with that. But I don't really see a full-time third baseman in there defensively.
Yeah.
So at that point, we're talking about a limited first baseman who hasn't fully maximized his power, more of a bat to ball guy. So, I mean, you could see why the Red Sox, an organization that would have to protect him in the Rule 5 draft, doesn't, value him that much, even though he had that, high school pedigree, was drafted in the 3rd round. But Chaim Bloom is clearly familiar with this player. We'll see if the Cardinals player development staff can get more unlocked, as he is still just 22 years old. But at the very least, the bat to ball has been promising, and the raw juice is in there to potentially unlock a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean, to get any sort of value back for Stephen Matz is a win in my book. And even if Blaze Jordan ends up being on a short side platoon, hitting left-handed pitching, subbing in first base, playing a little bit of third base, that's still a win in my book. So, yeah, I think a little bit lower on him than most Cardinals fans. It seems like a lot of people are penciling him into the starting roster for next year, starting lineup for next year, and not sure how I feel about that. But he's a talented player, and eager to see what the Cardinals player development group ends up working on with him to unlock a little bit more power in the tank.
Yeah, there are definitely things to like about this guy. I think at the very worst, like you said, you're looking at somebody that doesn't strike out a lot, somebody with plus raw power. Whether he taps into that and turns that into real game power is something that we're going to have to just wait and see. It is hard to change your batted ball profile. We've seen that with Jordan Walker, for example. I mean, how many more 118 mile an hour double play, ground into double plays do we need to see to realize that it's hard to make these changes? It's hard to elevate the ball if you're not already doing that consistently. It's hard to it's hard to lift it in the air to your pull side. Obviously, that's something you want to see from this guy, but there are things to like. He hits left-handed pitching, like you said, which is awesome, and it's something the Cardinals very, very badly need. And so, yeah, if you can get multiple years of a functional bench piece for 2 months of Stephen Matz, and you move the salary, like that's something that's a win for this Cardinals organization. That's something they needed to do at this deadline, and it's something that hopefully they're going to be able to get done here in the future. You see that it already has made Lucan Baker, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but it's already made him redundant, and they've moved on from him. And I think the defensive versatility here is a big plus. You got this guy on your bench. Hey, he can play third base. He can play first base. Better versatility there defensively than Lucan Baker had. So that's something that might help him stay on the roster a little bit more. Like if Lucan Baker could have just done a little bit more defensively, I think the Cardinals would have been more inclined to carry him on their roster. The flexibility is a big deal when you're able to slot a guy in to multiple positions. So that's a good thing for him. Yeah. In terms of the profile for a guy that is going to be probably, if he turns into a regular, he's going to be playing first base. You would like to see more in-game power. Maybe that's something they can get to. He does not chase, or well, he does chase, but he does not whiff, which is a good thing to see. Very rarely whiffs in the zone. So when he gets pitches to hit, he does hit them. That's a great thing. The plate discipline is intriguing. But like you said, I'm not sure that I can just, write in Sharpie that he's going to be hitting third next year at Busch Stadium. I want to pump the brakes on some of that. Remember, this is a guy that you got for 2 months of Stephen Matz. You didn't trade Juan Soto and get James Wood back. So it's something that we do need to pump the brakes on a little bit and remember that the value is what it is. But it's a guy with some intrigue, and hopefully the Cardinals get to work and maximize this profile.
Absolutely. I'm not going to write off that Blaze Jordan isn't going to be a starting player at the next
100%.
level.
Yeah.
But I do think that we need to see a little bit more developing, just in terms of making sure he's hitting the ball at the right angles. Even the exit velocity numbers have been a little bit disappointing at the AAA level so far. We have the StatCast data for that, but as long as he's going to be putting bat to ball, I think more so, I think what's more important is hitting the ball at the right angles. And, if he's able to do so, we could be looking at a potential starting caliber player. But yeah, I still like the player and think he could provide value as a bench piece that hits left-handed pitching.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good pickup for the Cardinals, I think. And it's a little different than the other moves they made because this guy's a lot closer to being big league ready. Do you think there's a chance that we see him down the stretch, or do you think that's going to be a debut that's made next year?
I wouldn't be shocked, especially with we'll talk about it later, but with Lucan Baker getting DFA'd, I think that there are a lot of mouths to feed in the Cardinals roster right now, but they still don't have that right-handed bat off the bench that, hits left-handed pitching. And Blaze Jordan is someone that you're going to have to protect in the offseason. So I don't think it would hurt to start the clock early, after, the date passes where he retains rookie eligibility. But I think more than likely he'll play out the rest of the year at AAA, but wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world. But I think more so next year is when we'll see him at the big league level in some capacity.
Yeah, I think you're right. But they've opened that spot on the 40-man for him. So like you said, maybe there's a chance that we do see him. I think almost certainly he'll be the first guy you see from this deadline to debut, which is good. It's exciting that you're going to get to see a piece within the next few MLB season months, whether it's this year, early next April or May, get a chance at the big league level. So the Cardinals made one other major move at the deadline. They did make the Eric Fetty trade and got back some cash. So I guess that happened, and we can talk about that. But they also, late on deadline day, we got news that they traded Phil Maton, and they got back Mason Molina, not that kind of Molina, though, a different kind of Molina, and Skylar Hales from the Rangers, in addition to some international bonus pool money. So $250,000 of international money came back, which – we can talk about what that means, the implications of a move like that. But the two prospects they got back, two more pitchers. So the Cardinals are still doing clearly targeting young pitching, trying to get something going here. So Kareem, tell us a little bit about what this means and, how the Cardinals, again, were able to flip a $2 million signing into two prospects with at least some upside here.
Yeah, Phil Maton was someone that signed only for $2 million, as you said. It seemed like there wasn't any teams coveting him, for him to go only for $2 million. And the Cardinals to be able to cash in on that asset after he had a productive first half of the season, all-star snub. He was really impressive that, for the Cardinals in the first half. And, the velocity was up. He just, I did not expect this out of him. I loved the signing when the Cardinals made it, but he was one of the best relievers in the league in the first half. And to get any sort of value back for him, much like a Stephen Matz, I mean, this is a guy that you just signed for $2 million at the start of the year. No other team was willing to give him that a higher contract than just $2 million. And to be able to get a Mason Molina, who is in my top 30 in the system, I thought that they could have gotten a little bit more, just considering what some other teams got, especially a Tyler Rogers. But at the same time, like, it's hard to get upset about a player that the Cardinals signed for just $2 million at the start of the year, and you were able to cash in and get a couple pieces back. So the headliner is definitely the left-hand pitcher, Mason Molina. Low 90s fastball, but gets elite carry on the pitch. And, he pairs it with a quality changeup, which I think is his best offering. Tunnels really well off the heater, and, has posted above average strikeout or above average whiff rates in the lower levels. He also mixes in a low 80s gyro slider and a bigger mid 70s curveball. But he's mostly a two-pitch guy against right-handed bats with the fastball and changeup. He'll mix in the slider more against lefties. But this is a guy that has posted really impressive strikeout numbers in the lower levels. It'll be interesting to see how his stuff will play once he gets up to the AA level. Like I said, it's low 90s heater. It is solid characteristics on the pitch, but I wonder how that will play in the upper levels against more advanced hitters. But to get a left-handed pitcher that has a little bit of promise, that has posted above average whiff rates and strikeout rates in the lower levels, I think this was a good piece to have in a trade. And I mean, the Cardinals seem to love these, left-handed pitchers that have plus changeups. At the top with a guy like Quinn Matthews, but this year a guy like Braden Davis emerging. The Cardinals just drafted another Oklahoma left-handed pitcher with a plus changeup in Cade Crossland. So it seems like they love this archetype, left-hand pitcher with a good changeup, fastball that might not have the best velocity but has some promising characteristics. So it'll be fun to watch Mason Molina. Just eager to see how his stuff will play once he gets up to the upper levels. As so far at the single A and high A level, we've seen that strikeout stuff, but just not sure how it'll play against more advanced hitters. And then the second piece, right-hand pitcher Skylar Hales. Hales is a pure relief pitching prospect, hard thrower. He's been up to 100 miles an hour, but he sits around 95 on his fastball. Not the best shape, I would say. It is a lower release, but not enough hop on the pitch, I would say, to work well at the top of the zone. But I think it's decent. And then he'll mix in a slider as well. Still needs some developing on the pitch. It's 86 miles an hour. But I think it could use some refinement. So I'm eager to see the player development group work with Hales to refine his secondary arsenal. He's just a two-pitch guy right now with the fastball and slider. I wonder if there's another breaking ball shape in there. But yeah, I think that as a depth reliever option, I mean, you could never have enough of those guys. And Hales is someone that won't need to be protected for the Rule 5 draft in December. So I don't think there's any rush for this guy to be at the big league level, even if he is at AAA already. I think they could take their time with him, work on developing some of those secondaries, and maybe by this time next year, after a strong showcase at the AAA level, we could be seeing a guy that is being added to that Memphis shuttle. But yeah, I thought he was a fine secondary piece. A little bit underwhelmed by this package, but again, to get any value for Phil Maton, I thought that was a plus.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do wonder if they waited, like they held Maton too long and ended up having to take a discount because the Cardinals were going to trade Phil Maton. It seemed to me, it seemed probably to everyone in the business that it was going to happen. So maybe there's a chance that they got better offers. But again, we don't know what offers they got. We weren't in there. So all we can do is evaluate the package and look how it looks against some other guys. I agree with you. Perhaps underwhelming, but still two pieces with at least some intrigue here. Mason Molina, I believe, pitched at Arkansas and was a dog at times in college, had a couple of really big starts for them. And if you just look at some of his game logs this season, like he's had some really good performances. I know he went 6 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts in one of his last games in the Rangers organization a few weeks ago. So that was nice to see. He did make his organizational debut already for the Cardinals, pitching 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, 2 runs. A little bit of struggle with command, but we saw the strikeout stuff again, which is nice from the left side. It's another thing, like you said, this is just depth to put into the organization. And it's these depth moves that allow you to deal from a place of wealth, or, it allows you to, as these guys matriculate and progress through the system, it allows you to move pieces and not be worried about what's behind them. Like you see right now, a complete lack of depth at AAA, which has really held the Cardinals back. It kept them from promoting Michael McGreevy earlier this year. The injuries, no depth behind them make it all a bigger issue. So being able to round out the system more fully is something that should be appreciated. And it's a good thing the Cardinals are doing that. At the end of the day, could have maybe been a better return, but I don't think it was necessarily terrible. And so I think that's important. Also, bonus money. We got to talk about that before we have a message from one of our sponsors here. So Kareem, $250,000 of bonus money, that's a pretty big sum. It's not, the amount of money that goes to some of these top players, but it's nice. It's going to let the Cardinals have a little more flexibility in this next signing pool. What do you think about that? Do you think that was a big reason the Cardinals made this trade?
I think it was part of the reason for sure, to be able to add some more money. As you said, it gives the international staff a little bit more flexibility to sign some guys. Maybe they could splurge a little bit more on a higher end name or disperse it on a couple other names. But yeah, I do think that was a big part of the trade as well. And, always love to see the Cardinals, get a little bit more international money to work with, as it hasn't been, the strong suit of the organization over the, past decade. So I think it's always good to add a little bit more money and more flexibility to see what you can do on in terms of, the prospects that they target in the international market.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's not going to let them sign, Ethan Salas, for example, in another class. But I know the Cardinals have had some really nice guys boom on low contracts. I mean, I don't remember the exact details of what Rhino Rodriguez was signed for, but I'm pretty sure it was less than $250,000. Yeah, I mean, I was looking for it real quick, but I couldn't pull it up within enough time here. But it allows them to have that flexibility, like you said, and they can disperse it. And so maybe they do sign a couple of interesting players that they would have left out. And you're right. This is something the Cardinals need to do. Also, a quick clarification here. Like, it's not just that they have this bonus money now because they didn't have $250,000 laying around. You're only allowed to use so much to allocate to different players. So this increased their pool size. So it's not like they were just getting it's not cash considerations. It's money that you're actually allowed to spend during the period to sign international players. So that is a big deal. And it could allow them, it allows more dart throws. It's like trading for small draft picks. So
Ronnie L had a $300,000 signing bonus.
Okay. So this is almost as much as they spent on him, which is, I mean, that's awesome. That's a lot of money for them to play with in that sense. Well, before we get into grading the whole deadline and then talking about some other roster moves, we just have a quick message from the sponsor of our show, and that's 314 Sports Cards. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet, Missouri. They're open 10 to 6 Monday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. They buy, sell, and trade all sorts of cards, whether you're talking about sports cards, Pokemon cards, baseball, whatever you're looking for, they've got it. So they have the newest selection of packs, boxes, and single cards. Whether you're looking for local players or stars around the league, we talk about them all the time. It is a great place to go spend an afternoon. Go check it out. Tell them we sent you in, and have some fun shopping around for some sports cards. Over on Dealing the Cards, Andrew loves to show off whatever he's opened in his latest pack. I know he's been bragging about this special Eric Fetty card he's got. Very excited about that one these days. But look, if you're looking to pick up something, maybe some cards from some new players that the Cardinals just brought in, you could find stuff like that over at 314. So go check them out. All right. So with all of those guys introduced now, all 6 of those players broken down, how do we grade this deadline? I think we're both going to give you our grades. We've talked about it a little bit. I think Kareem and I are in the same ballpark. We'd love to see what you guys think. If you type that in the chat, we can react to that as well and think what you're thinking. So Kareem, where do you grade this deadline? Do you think this is an F? I've seen people on Twitter saying this is a D-, an F- type deadline where the Cardinals should have done way more. And I've seen some people saying, hey, this is a solid return. The Cardinals did the things they needed. So where do you fall on that spectrum?
Look, was it not the most exciting deadline?
Yeah.
Did the Cardinals not end up, trading players that are that have more team control? Guys like Lars Nootbaar, even JoJo Romero is a name that I wish they would have ended up trading. It feels like this is his value is not going to be any higher than what it is right now, and I thought it made sense to cash in on a reliever. But at the same time, even though it wasn't the most exciting deadline in the world, the Cardinals moved on from all their expiring contracts, which I think is a plus. To be able to get value back for Ryan Helsley, add 3 prospects that I think slate into your top 20 in the organization. Blaze Jordan, I think he's a fun lottery ticket player that you got back for Stephen Matz. And then the 2 pitchers that you got back for Phil Maton. While I do think that it wasn't the greatest return in the world. I mean, you're still adding 2 top 50 prospects in your organization for a guy in Phil Maton that you signed for $2 million at the start of the year. So I thought that it was a solid deadline. On the deadline stream, I rated it a B-, and I think I'm going to stay at that grade, whether it be B-, maybe a C+, you could argue.
Yeah.
Not the most exciting deadline, but at the same time, I don't think the Cardinals shit the bed. Maybe I should. I shouldn't have. Okay, but
I think I'm with you on that, though. I think there's a world where the Cardinals buy at this deadline. The Angels have done it a number of times when they're not contending.
I don't understand the fan uproar saying it's a D deadline, an F deadline. Oh, Mozeliak needs to get out of here. That was an awful job. Well, Mozeliak's not the only name in the front office
100%.
that is making these decisions. Chaim Bloom is, at this point, I feel like he might have a bigger say than Mozeliak in the front office, especially with those moves. So I just don't understand it. Do I think the deadline could have been a little bit more exciting? Do I think it made sense to ship a JoJo Romero, be able to get some value back for him, and with one more year of control beyond this season, I feel like JoJo Romero was at his peak value. But I'm not going to knock the grade by too much for not trading JoJo Romero. Maybe from a B to a C+, but not to a D, right? I don't think a lot of people bring up the fact that there's a lot of redundancy on the roster. It would have made sense to trade a Nootbaar. And while I do think that trading a Nootbaar, there is some sense to be made there, he's also at his lowest value right now. Had a bad stretch before hitting the IL. I don't think it made sense to move on from a guy like that who isn't at his peak value. And I'd rather hand the keys over to Chaim Bloom for him to make that decision in the offseason, as opposed to right now where you don't have to move that asset. He still has 2.5 years of control. So I don't think it was the worst deadline in the world. Could it have been a little bit more exciting? Sure. But I don't understand why everyone is so disappointed by this deadline. I thought it was a fine job, not A+, not a superb deadline by any means, but it was all right. And I think it's deserving of either a B- or C+ grade.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to ever assess give a team an A plus unless they're like buying and they go all in and they get the players you need to win a World Series. Like the Rangers in 2023, they went all in and they got guys that ended up winning them a World Series. And that's awesome. Like that's how you get an A plus at a deadline. Or if you're having a true fire sale and you bring in just a ton of, high upside, high intrigue talent that helps you, like the Nationals did when they traded Juan Soto away. But other than that, I think it's really hard to give a team an A plus or anything like that. And I think that when you consider the broad spectrum of what could have happened at this deadline, it could have been actually botched. And I don't think it was. The Cardinals could have they could have done nothing at the deadline. And we've seen them do it before. We've seen teams like the Angels who year in, year out are just on the edge of contention. And they go out and they trade an Edgar Caro away, a guy who is ranked in Pipeline's top 100 for like Lucas Giolito, who makes 5 starts for them and then gets DFA'd. We've seen moves like that happen that are huge mistakes, moves that actually set you back as a franchise when you go out and buy when you shouldn't. We've seen deadlines where, again, teams do absolutely nothing. The Cardinals did neither of those things. They didn't soft buy. They actually were sellers. They played in a seller's market, and they moved all 4 of the players they actually needed to move, right? They had 5 free agents, but Miles Michaelis was never going to be traded. But they had 4 guys that they needed to get rid of, including Eric Fetty. They got rid of all 4 of them. Now, do I love the order in which they did it? Do I think they should have gotten rid of Eric Fetty earlier? Yeah, like we can nitpick here. Do I think they could have gotten more for Maton? I think we both agree on that. But at the end of the day, they did all the things they absolutely had to do, and the returns for the most part were good. Like I'm not gonna harangue the Helsley package and say, oh, they got nothing. No, they got 3 good players that we can look at in the system and say, this guy could be a big leaguer someday. They got actual value for expiring relievers. I'm with you. I think they should have traded Romero. I think that's the biggest mistake of this deadline. I think he is at peak value. And I think while, Romero is going to be your best reliever going into next year, I don't know how much value he has on a roster where they've pretty much already said, we're not investing in next year. We don't think we're going to be good enough to win. We don't care about next year. The window opens in 27, 28. So if that's the case, do you need Romero on the roster? Do you need Romero the rest of this year? I don't think so. I think I would have moved him. 2 playoff runs from a lefty that not only neutralizes left-handed batters, but also neutralizes power hitters and is on an absolute heater. I think he would have gotten a lot from you. Or I think he would have gotten a lot for you at this deadline, and I wish they'd done that. I also think to earn an A, the Cardinals probably would have had to make one more move for me, and that would have looked like maybe trading a Lucan Baker or moving some of these guys on the edge of the roster that are already going to be removed. I think Michael Ciani might have had some value on a trade market. There are definitely teams out there that could use a defensive wizard in the outfield right now for their playoff runs. I look at, I know Philadelphia brought in Bader, but there are other teams that could use a guy to plug in and fill some gaps for them late in games. So I think that would have been what a true A deadline looked like. The Cardinals didn't do that, but they also did all the things they had to do. It's not a failing grade. So for me, I think I'm right in the C+ range. They could have done more. I'm glad they didn't move on from a Donovan or a Nootbaar and not get equivalent value, not get adequate value back. It would have been worse to trade Lars Nootbaar right now, I think, because I'm not sure what you get back for a guy who's, again, coming off injury, like you said, having the worst season of his career at this point. So I think by and large, it was managed well. It could have been managed better. We could be sitting here, the Cardinals didn't go out there and acquire a Leo DeVry, but did they have the guy to do that? That's the thing. There was no way they were ever going to acquire one of those huge, big ticket prospects at the deadline. And that's okay. I think they did things that made sense. There's no true head scratchers here. There's no moves that you look at and say, why would you do that? And so I think it is a passing grade. It is not excellent, but it's not bad. And so I'm sitting right there at that C+, maybe a B-, depending on how some of these guys turn out, down the road. But yeah, solid deadline for the Birds. Can't really complain. I hope that we're not selling again next year because sellers' deadlines are just such a bummer. It used to feel like Christmas on deadline day. Now, granted, the Cardinals front office normally shopped at more of a bargain bin store, but at least we were adding to the roster. Whereas now we're just taking away from it. So it is a shame. But as we move into the rest of the show here, I think there are other things we need to discuss, notably Lucan Baker, removed. Kareem, what does that mean? How does a guy who has, dominated AAA, at least last year especially, how do the Cardinals just move on from him? And does it say anything that he was picked up by the big bad Dodgers?
Well, Lucan's a very limited player, just a
Agreed.
first baseman. And, it's hard to carve out a consistent role for a player like that. I mean, the Cardinals tried it earlier in the season, trying to platoon him, play him against left-handed pitchers. But he didn't show up well enough in those, limited big league opportunities. And so far at AAA this year, it's been a disappointing season. He's hitting under 200, slugging less than 400. It's just not been a great season for him. So while it is tough to see him go, this is a player that the Cardinals drafted in 2018. He spent 7 years in the minor leagues, hit a total of 136 home runs. This is a player that's now redundant, especially with the addition of a Blaze Jordan, who I think plays a similar role as a first baseman that can hit left-handed pitching. And I think there's a little bit more to dream on with Blaze Jordan, as he is 22 years old. And, he hasn't been yet given the opportunity to hit at the major league level. And there could be a little bit more positional versatility in there too. While I don't think that there's enough in there for him to handle third base in a full-time capacity, there's certainly more positional value in there than a Lucan Baker. So I think when you're able to get a Blaze Jordan, it becomes a redundancy. Lucan Baker hasn't had the strongest year, so I don't blame the Cardinals for moving on from him. And for Lucan's sake, like I hope that he does get an opportunity somewhere, whether it's on a major league roster, whether it's in the NPB. I do think that Lucan Baker is deserving of playing a little bit, but he just hadn't showed it this year. It'll be. I'm not sure if the opportunity is going to present itself with the Dodgers unless there's an injury. But wish the best for a guy that was an organization soldier with us for 7 years, drafted high in 2018, it'll be fun to follow his career. I wish the best for him.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Last year was dominant at AAA. I think he posted like an 880 OPS, 32 bombs, drew a ton of walks. But Lucan Baker is a great reminder that AAA stats don't just immediately contribute to major league success. And you can have a guy that really thrives in the upper levels of the minors without being a guy that's necessarily high on a team's priority list. It wasn't, there wasn't a fit here. It wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to happen. But I agree with you. Rooting for the best for him. And I do think if he doesn't get a chance at the big league level with somebody, he's the type of guy that will get opportunities in other leagues and maybe makes a return at some point, as we've seen many players do. Yeah, I mean, he's a term that gets thrown around a lot. It's like a quadruple A player. Cardinals have had their fair share of guys like that in the past. I think Lucan Baker fits that description. Clearly advanced enough, but doesn't necessarily have the skill set or tool set to work for the roster. The Cardinals, I know, have already filled that roster spot with, I want to make sure I say this right. Oh my gosh. What's the name of the guy they filled the spot with, Kareem?
I think it's Veneziano.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to make sure I was saying that right. And they got him from the Marlins, a left-handed pitcher. This makes a lot of sense. They needed a lefty. I think Jojo Romero is the only guy in the bullpen right now with Stephen Matz traded, John King injured. So do you think that he's going to factor into the active roster right away?
Active roster, no. He was optioned to AAA Memphis.
Yeah.
But with the Cardinals only having one left-handed reliever in the pen right now, to add this guy to your 40-man roster, it wouldn't be shocking to see him get some innings at the end of the season, as I think it would be useful to have another lefty. And, this is a guy that's pitched at the major league level a little bit. Last year between Kansas City and Miami, he had a 3.38 ERA in 13 1/3 innings. Fastball sits around 94, but he can touch 97. Not particularly the best shape, but I think his calling card is his breaking stuff. He's got a bullet slider that sits 87, but I think his best pitch is an 84-mile-an-hour sweeper, which he gets 12 inches of glove side on, so glove side with. So I think, he could be a left-handed option, a guy that you put in to get lefties out. I think the stuff profiles well enough to pitch in a bullpen. But yeah, I think it's good to add some depth. That's for sure. With John King on the IL, as you mentioned, Stephen Matz also got traded. So the Cardinals only have one lefty option in the bullpen right now. So yeah, nice to add some depth. Down in the minor leagues, and another guy, Odiner Mosqueda.
Yeah, there we go.
He's a guy that I've been calling for. I think that he's pitched really well at AAA this year, especially against left-handed bats. It's just a tough look with his wide release. He's another guy to just throw around if you want a lefty option in the bullpen. But I imagine with Veneziano being added to the 40-man roster, he'll get the first look as a lefty option in the bullpen, right next to Jojo Romero.
Yeah, it's definitely an intriguing depth move. It's the type of thing the Cardinals have done in years past pretty successfully, especially over the last 2 to 3 seasons, where they've managed to make great moves on the periphery and bring in guys with interesting traits that they then maximize and turn into serviceable bullpen arms. So hopefully we get to see him down the stretch. I'm with you. I would love to see Mosqueda get a chance at the big league level with how he's performed lately in AAA. I saw Kevin threw it in here that he's got a 1.35 ERA over the last 5 weeks. I mean, that's really good stuff. Especially when Jojo Romero is your only lefty and also your primary closer right now. So, I mean, the Cardinals really don't have a guy that they can throw as a lefty in the 6th, 7th, or 8th inning at the moment. So I think whether it's, I don't know if we'll see Mosqueda right away, but I expect to see one of them in the very near future, because the Cardinals do need to buff out that left-handed depth in the bullpen. So that's intriguing. Other news from the system, very sad news. Tekoa Roby out for the rest of the season. He's going to miss all of next season with Tommy John surgery. He joins a list that already includes Matthews, Hentz, Jerpy, Lynn, and Robersa, among others, who are prospects in the system that have missed significant time due to injury. This just complicates things for the Cardinals, because at this point, you're protecting they're going to have to protect Jerpy this offseason. They're going to have to protect Roby this offseason. They're going to, will they protect, is Robersa Rule 5 eligible this offseason?
So Roby is on the 40-man.
Yeah, he's already
there. Robersa.
Yeah, Robersa's already on it too. So you got all these guys you're going to have to protect. And with injuries, it's unfortunate because there is no IL during the offseason. So your 40-man is your 40-man. You don't get to just throw guys on the 60-day and get those extra spots. So there are going to have to be some cuts made in order to protect a guy like Jerpy. And I think that's part of the reason you see Garrett Hampsons and some other guys that are roster sloughs stick around for now, because the Cardinals are going to need to free up those spots. But it's going to be challenging. They're going to have to make some tough decisions. And I'm with you. I hope they protect Jerpy at all costs. I know he's a guy that we are still really high on here at Birds on the Farm. But I don't envy the Cardinals front office with just this litany of pitching injuries to their high-level prospects. It's unfortunate. And at this point, it's like, can anybody just stay healthy, please? It's the worst.
Yeah, it's been a rough year in terms of injuries. Like you said, Matthews, Jerpy, Roby, Hensley, Robersa. I mean, that's pretty much all your top pitching prospects in the organization missing significant time this year.
Yeah.
So sucks to see that, but I mean, it's the name of the game. Pitchers are going to get hurt, and the Cardinals are dealing with it this year, but hopefully next year it's not this bad. And the Cardinals added a lot of exciting arms to the lower levels of the system with the draft and, the trade deadline as well, getting a Nate Dohm and a Frank Elissalt. So yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch those guys, climb through the system. But sucks that all your top pitching prospects are hurt right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the point you make about Jerpy, I mean, this is a guy you have to protect at all costs. I think he should be back around midseason. If you don't add him to the 40-man roster, he's going to be subject to the Rule 5 draft. And I do think that a team would take a risk on someone like that, which someone like that who would be a plug and play high leverage reliever once he gets cleared from TJ, which I believe will be around midseason. And I think that he'll pitch enough to be able to stick on the roster. So it would suck to see a guy like Cooper Jerpy not get protected, but there's just too many 40-man guys that are injured that aren't pitching, aren't contributing to this team. So I wonder how the Cardinals end up handling that in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is it just seems to me like at the moment there are still enough easy decisions where it's like, yeah, I mean, we might not want to part with this guy, but we can do it without too much of a second thought, where the Cardinals are going to be able to make these moves. But at the same time, I mean, they're still going to have to release some guys that fans are accustomed to seeing on the roster. Like, I think this might be a time when, for example, Siani it gets removed. But you got to make those tough decisions to prioritize a guy like Cooper Jerpy or some of these other really talented players that you're going to have to start protecting. And injuries just make it all the more challenging because it's like you got to cut these guys knowing that they're going to go back on you got to cut guys for them knowing that these guys are just going to go back on the 60 day. But it's just what you have to do. A couple other guys who are breaking out, drafted in 2020 or 2024. First guy on here is Daniil Ortiz. He was the 16th round pick. And I mean, he already had debuted on Kareem's top 20 prospects list at number 18. But a really intriguing start for him. The StatCast card looks awesome. There's a lot of red on here. This guy has been killing it over with Palm Beach. So Kareem, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing from him. This 145 WRC plus at the A advanced level. I mean, that's some pretty crazy stuff for a 20-year-old.
He was recently promoted to Peoria, but his StatCast percentiles in the Florida State League
unbelievable
at Palm Beach were incredible. All the quality of contact numbers were at the top. We're talking about a 91.5 mile/hour average exit velocity, which is in the 96th percentile of Florida State League hitters. Air exit velocity of 93.7, 97th percentile. Constantly on the sweet spot, 48% sweet spot rate, 99th percentile in the Florida State League. So we're talking about a guy that has some of the best quality of contact numbers. Is my mic all right?
I think I'm having some trouble with my audio here real quick. This is so frustrating.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I got you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm having some trouble with my audio and Wi-Fi connection. This is so frustrating.
All right. I thought it was on my end. So that's why.
I think it is on my end. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these numbers, it's unbelievable. And he's lifting the ball. Hard hit rate right now, 97th percentile. Average exit velocity, 91.5. That's 96th percentile. He's just crushing the ball. And as a 20-year-old who just was selected in a later round, that's awesome. Like, this is exactly what you want to see from a guy coming over to the system and breaking out. So it's awesome to see the Cardinals get a little aggressive with him as well. So I wonder how much of him we'll see up at Peoria. And I wonder how they'll deal with this guy next year. I wonder how aggressive they are with him. It sounds to me like it seems to me like he'd spend most of the year at Peoria, but maybe it's a guy that you could see even move up to Springfield at some point next year. So it's really good to see. And he's keeping the ball in the air, which is just awesome. Fly ball rate in the 89th percentile, line drive rate in the 95th percentile. He's keeping it off the ground. He's getting it into the air, and that's resulting in a ton of slug. So really good to see. And then another guy who's broken out, Braden Davis. He was a 5th-round pick out of Oklahoma. While there are some command concerns this year, a lot of walks and 88 innings pitched, the strikeout stuff has been really intriguing. Third in all of minor league baseball with a 34.3 K percentage. Elite changeup that, as you've said, mirrors the fastball. I mean, that is awesome stuff. Tell us a bit about what you're seeing from him.
Yeah, I think there hasn't been a pitching prospect in the organization that's boosted their stock more this year than Braden Davis. Like you said, plus changeup. It mirrors the fastball movement out of the hand with a 10-mile-an-hour velocity difference. And hitters have just struggled picking it up out of the hand. The whiff rate on the pitch is over 60%, which helps him produce some of the top strikeout numbers in minor league baseball. As you said, third in minor league baseball right now with a 34.3% strikeout rate, and he actually leads the Cardinals farm as well. So, yeah, he's been generating a ton of swing and miss, some of the best swing and miss stuff in minor league baseball to this point. The command has been up and down. He's walked 57 batters in 88 and 2/3 innings this year, but to have one of the best whiff inducers in minor league baseball, it's fun to be able to. It's fun to watch him take the steps up that he has so far this year, it should be fun to watch him when he gets over to Springfield and the upper levels to see how this stuff translates over there.
Testing.
My audio is totally out. Can you hear me on your end? I can't hear you coming through. This is so frustrating. Oh my gosh.
I think we might need to cut it here.
I can't hear anything on Kareem's end. This is a nightmare. Hey, I might have to drop out of the stream for a second and try to fix this. So, yeah, sorry.
It's all good. All right. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat right now. Yeah, the major league pitching staff hasn't had any injuries, but feels like every pitcher in the minor league system is getting hurt. So that's interesting. Ishan Henderson definitely comes to mind as a guy that I could see getting promoted at the end of the season. Aside from him, maybe a Hansel Rincon, but I'm not sure anyone besides those two. Mosqueda, yep. Hello?
Yeah, I got you now. This is working. This is better. Sorry about the technical difficulties today, guys. Stuff on my end just not working the way it's supposed to. But
I hear my echo.
Yeah, it's just giving me trouble. I have to go no mic right now, which is super annoying. Hopefully it is audible. But we're almost to the end of the show here. Is there anything more that we need to talk about with Braden Davis and his breakout?
I think we're good.
All right.
I'm hearing my echo.
It sounds good on my end. Is it working on yours?
I'm pretty sure they'll be able to hear that echo.
You think so? Oh man. People in the chat, does the audio sound okay? How does it sound on y'all's end? Because it's weird on ours. But also, if there's any Q&A here, I saw this comment from Jeff Brown. I know Kareem addressed it, but it is crazy. The level of injuries they've had at the minor league level versus the major league level. Yeah, bad echo. It's unfortunate today. We will have to sort through some of these technical difficulties later. But Kareem, is there anything else you want to add? I can go on mute when you speak, and that should reduce the echo.
Yeah, let's just close out the show here. I thought that we had plenty to talk about, and yeah, it was a fun show. Is there anything you want to add? I mean, should we roll the underdog ad? I don't think we did that for the episode.
Oh, yeah. Another message from one of our sponsors here. If you're looking for something fun to do when you're watching Cardinals games the rest of the year, check this out.
The Deal in the Cards podcast is proud to be partnered with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You're now eligible to play in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and 37 other U.S. states. You got to check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can win 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries.
Little Josh Jacobs Deal in the Cards cameo there, but Underdog is a super fun way to play fantasy sports. So go check that out as you watch the Cardinals close out the year. I always love taking the over on earned runs when Miles Michaelis pitches. That cashed last night, which was fun. But a great show today. Lots of fun stuff to talk about with some new names in the system. And I think in the future, we're definitely going to be breaking down some individual players. I know there's a lot of hype around Nathan Church. We need to address that in an episode soon. Figure out what he's going to look like when he gets a chance with the team. And we'll be here with you for the end of the season, and we'll have some cool stuff planned in the offseason. So thanks so much for joining us today, everybody. And we hope you guys have a great day, and go Cards.